Christina Jorgensen, and I'm a candidate for the MET program at Boise State University. I am a math teacher for Idaho Digital Learning Academy, and I am certified in math, English, and physical education at the secondary level. Before I started this program, I was attending a summer conference for IDLA, and Jerry Foster from Boise State spoke to us about this program, and from there I hopped on, and 2 years later here I am, got ready to finish. I have grown so much in the last 2 years, personally and professionally, and my love for technology has grown even more. I am hoping that as I finish up this program, I'll be able to continue teaching online and hopefully teach for higher education. Thank you.
EdTech 502, the Internet for Educators, is one class that I learned so much from. I gained an understanding of what really goes into creating web pages and all the code and attention to detail that needs to be paid. In 502 we created various websites using different projects to demonstrate how we know that we know what we're doing, and to offer different challenges for our students. I teach math, English, and physical education, so I was able to incorporate all three of those into the different projects. The one I wanted to focus on was the virtual field trip. Here we take a trip to England, and while many of us will probably never make it over there, I think this would be a fun trip, mostly because I would like to go there. I chose 5 British authors. J.K. Rowling is the author of the Harry Potter books, and R.R. Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings, so even though if they hadn't read The Lord of the Rings, many have probably watched the movies. And then just others that were very famous. They have an introduction, and they have a map of where they all live, so they can actually point it out on a map. Each author has a video that they can watch about them, and then some more information. And throughout the worksheet that they do with it, they answer questions about the authors, find things they share in common and they're connected with. They're also able to go in whatever order they want and kind of have a little bit of control over how they're learning this part, which all students love. And with the budget cuts the way they are, classes just don't have money to go on field trips even in their own cities or towns anymore. And this is a way to get our students out of the classroom, participating, engaged, and learning all at the same time.
You feel like a candle.
EdTech 512 Online Course Design is a class that I gained an appreciation for those that do the behind-the-scenes work of the courses that I teach for Idaho Digital Learning Academy. At the same time I started taking this class, I was also asked to develop a 7th grade math class for IDLA, and was able to use and implement everything I learned from this course into my course design, since I had no idea what I was doing before I started this class and started developing myself. There is so much that goes into designing a course than just creating the lesson plans and throwing it all together. We had different layers. You have your analysis of determining what the problem is, what is there really the need for it. Then we had our design. What are the objectives? Are they linked to any state standards? Do you have state standards that you need to do? And in our case, Idaho is now moving to Common Core, so all the objectives that I created, everything that I did was linked to those Common Core standards. For evaluation, we used formative and summative evaluations. We were able to, I thought of a lot of things that I didn't have to think about. For me, evaluation is just, did they pass the test or not? Well, in course design, it's more, well, did the course work well? Was all the links working properly? Did the student move freely through the class? Implementation, I had to think about all those other people behind the scenes at IDLA that do things, put it on the web, make sure that there's no links broken. Little things that I don't necessarily worry about that they had to. And then a final summative evaluation. How are we going to know if the class truly worked? Did the students learn? The course was presented using Moodle. There were the objectives, and each module had lesson information, key words, leading questions that they needed to answer, and then lesson content. And after the lesson content, then they were given an assessment. So they were able to do all that, and everything that I've used for this course I moved right over and was able to use in my own course development for IDLA. And so I had instant real life usage for what I had learned, and it was a growth for me, a new experience, and really stretched me and made me a better educator and teacher because of it.
Like you lost your fight, but you'll be alright. You'll be alright.
EdTech 532 Gaming and Simulations was a very fun class. I learned how to use game-based learning in the classroom and how to create and change regular gaming and make it educational. The role-playing that we had to play within the class also was, it was so much fun, I forgot that I was learning, and that's how I want my students to feel. The way I felt throughout that whole class is something I wish I could get my students to feel about math. Love going to class, love doing the assignments, which were really games, all of that. The final project for the class was to create our own game that we could go take to present to programmers and say, this is my idea. So it's not a final project, it's just something I would present to them. And for me, I called it Mission Incredible. The game is designed for secondary math students, but it can be tailored down for younger students if they wanted to. So the storyline is that aliens have taken control of all the teachers and principals. We have school every day of the week for 12 hours a day. There's no stopping, tons of homework. We need to get them out. We need to get rid of them. And that is, no kid wants to be in school that long, so there's their trigger. Once they've accepted the mission that we've given them, we let them know that they're taken to the closest building that has the microchips they need to remove to get rid of the aliens. And each floor, there's 10 floors, and each floor it gets harder and harder the closer and closer you get to the microchip. Just like in a regular video game, the higher and higher you get, the harder and harder it is. Helps that I give them along the way. The first is a calculator. And this calculator comes to a person when they're struggling to answer a question. If they've tried 3 or 4 or 5 times, this calculator appears, gives them little hints, and also kind of gives them the, if they can't do the mental math or they're having problems with 24 times 10 or 24 times 11, that calculator can help them with that. I wanted the students to be able to try first, so that's the reason why it doesn't come until the 3rd or 4th time. I didn't want them to rely too heavily on it. There's another help is maps. So as they enter a room and they answer a question, they're given a question. If they choose the hard route, the harder question, they get an easier route to the next one. The easier questions, there's more along the way. You have to weave through more. It just helps the students. It gives them incentive to try for those harder questions. As you go up, the levels are harder and harder. The easier routes take longer and you have more questions to answer. Those are just examples of what it would look like. Sample questions, we'd have the easy one and the hard one, just so that they could get an idea of how I felt. My overall goal would be to personalize each game, so the students would go in and take a test before participating in the game, and then those questions can be tailored. So our students that are higher gifted and talented, they aren't given the same hard questions as one of my students that is maybe a grade level below. It's adapted for them so that they can work at their level, at their pace, and get the feedback that they need. When they've finished the whole class, they have a congratulations, you did it. They've grasped the concept, they've mastered it, and they can move on to the next one. And everything they've done throughout the participation and stuff would be points later on, and then the final overall, when they completed it, they've passed the test or whatnot for that. And I just love the idea. I'd love to find a way to be able to implement something like this into my own room, for my own students. Something for math that makes it fun for them at their level, personalized, so there's no one bored, no one feeling too stupid, and just to have fun with it.
'Cause when push comes to shove, you taste what you're made of. You might
EdTech 543 is social network learning, and when I went into the class I thought this would be so easy and I wouldn't have to do much, and boy was I wrong. I learned so much about social networking, how it's not just using Facebook or Twitter, but to use social network as a way to present myself professionally and to make connections so that I can move up and move on when the time is right for me to do so. One thing that we did within 543 was we created an MOOC, which is a Mass Open Online course. My overall thinking would be someday, if I could actually implement this when I teach English again, would be getting with a school in China or Russia or England and doing it together. That would just be wonderful for my students. We have links on the top and the side to accommodate each student so they feel comfortable with either one. And this one, it would be short story writing. We have a course description, objectives, performance, what they're asked to do. The assessment is all through badges, and they get XP points as they move along throughout the course, and just general information. Course technology, we give them a whole page of all the technology that they'll be using, what it's for, and tutorials if they have problems with it. This way there's no shock, or the students don't need to worry when they're presented with Digio or Flickr. They know what it is, they know what it's for, and if they have questions they can always go to the tutorial. Our social media policies lets the students know what exactly is required of them, what happens if they don't follow the etiquette and the policies, copywriting laws, things that just so that they know what is asked of them and what is needed. This course monitoring we created just more for our classmates that were going to observe it without giving them access to all of our things so they could see the teacher and the student side of it. Overall, I think this would be a great way to implement, and I would love to try it someday if when the opportunity presents itself again.
This concludes my reflection video. Thank you for watching.